Yeah.
So does there come a point where on some level, state, city, federal, where if we decide as a majority or as a people that we want more things, I'm just throwing out questions. I have an answer that I think about that, but I am trying to learn from your wisdom on it too.
No, there's nothing that we can do, like Deanna said, goes outside what we can do with what we can rightfully do.
So it's not the government's right, because it wasn't our right to give the government.
Yeah.
That's the essence of the
That's
matter.
her, that's what she is teaching
And
us.
I think that's a great, I think that's a great position to come from, to be able to think through that and say, okay, do I have the right to do this?
So if we elect our representatives, I'm just thinking on a city basis, if we elect our representatives, then if I didn't vote, if I didn't go vote, or if the person won that I didn't want to win, still I'm giving, I guess we make that agreement, that's the compact we make with each other, that we will go along with whatever the majority decides. So once that is decided, then we give them the right to make decisions on those few things that we want them to make decisions on, right? But in a way, some people are still losing out because of apathy or just the election.
Well,
And
I guess that's the next lecture.
So with the roads example then, just going back to that principle, I'm free to spend my money on building a road, right? So I can give my money to the government to build a road if I feel like whoever the government is employing to do it is using my money the best way. But I can't make my neighbor spend money to build a road in front of our house. So
And
can
you
the
can't
government.
encroach on someone else's property to build that road without their,
that one went out the window a long time ago, didn't it?
permission,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's a good guideline, because again, you're saying, as soon as you give something to the government, you automatically bring in force. Because then they say, we are going to do this, we've been mandated to do this, and we don't really have to listen to anybody, we can make everybody follow along.
And that's her next point, is the second that your laws start saying, you must do this, you will do this, you know that they have overstepped their bounds as a government.
And the other thing is, the Constitution was not meant to govern the states. It was meant to govern the nation, it was meant to govern the government. It wasn't established to govern the people. And everybody now thinks that the Constitution governs the people, and it doesn't. It governs the
Federal
government
government.
and says this is what you can do. And then each state has their own constitution, and there are those powers given to the national government that allows it to make sure that the states behave themselves.
And we saw that in those decisions this week. The Supreme Court justices used that to say, we're not going to make a decision. This goes back to the states,
Yeah.
which they should do a lot more
And yet,
often.
and you know, and that was my comment today. That's interesting because they will tell us we can't pray in schools, and they will
Right.
tell us that we have to allow abortion, but they can't tell us whether we can or can't have marriage. I
Marriage.
wonder if they're running scared, you know, saying we're not touching that right now.
Yeah. Not with the
Well,
10-foot
it's this
pole.
same law, this is the same lecture on law where she points out there's three kinds of law. There's natural law, which we don't really have a say about, do we? And there's revealed law, which she says is in the scriptures, the laws in the scriptures. Then there's civil law. And I thought it was really interesting, her discussion, the difference between legal and lawful. You
Yeah.
can make something legal,
Mhm.
like this same-sex marriage, but it's not truly lawful because it does not obey natural law.
Or revealed law, which those two
Right.
go together well.
Yes.
It's the civil law that doesn't always agree with the other two.
And when you start making laws that are not lawful, you're headed for destruction, basically, is what she said.
I heard that put a really good way, just that as much as there are inalienable rights, there are inalienable wrongs. And so there are just
Can't
things
make it
that
right.
no law can make right. There are inalienable wrongs, whatever, and that would be natural law, you know.
And in A World Split Apart, he goes over that same theme.
Yeah, he does.
That you just, you can make whatever you want legal, but that doesn't make it right. And that's, you know,
Thanks for income
why, I
tax.
don't know why we can't go there.
Strongly.
You know, as a nation, I don't know why, you know, we've been beat up for so long that right is so subjective that there's nothing moral anymore.
Well, he
They've
tells
even
us why
changed
in the
definition.
article.
Yeah, they've even changed. Well, and as I read through that, I thought, you know, liberalism has even changed the definition of moral, because they talk about morals all the time, and yet, really, it's not. It's not when it comes to being moral that they're talking about morals.
We don't
so
use that
frustrating.
word anymore really in public discourse. Moral, we use justice.
I
Maybe
wish somebody.
ethics.
I tend to notice it when people are running for office, that they're all about family values and community morals. You know, they go that route, but to have them define it would be an interesting dialogue. Did we
Sorry,
lose her?
that was my phone,
Okay.
which I could turn on.
Okay.
I was actually thinking, she also said something about, in order to protect rights, the government's place is to tell us what we can't do that would encroach on rights. It's when the government tells us what we have to do
Okay.
that then they are encroaching on our
Right.
rights. Like their point is to tell us what we can't do so that we're not
That would be
encroaching others'
offensive
rights.
to others.
Right.
Okay.
So I thought that was another really good way to put it. And I was also thinking as we talked, don't you think some of this has to do with fear? That the government, the people who are forcing are afraid that people won't choose what they want them to choose if they don't make them choose it. And so,
Well, that's their argument most of the time.
I mean, that's even
People
what
can't
I
get
already
this right.
said, that, well, if we didn't have roads or whatever it was, and you said, well, we might learn how to work together, and I thought, oh, well, that's an idea. But I
Novel
mean,
idea.
Have a few roads end up going like this, and then they end up making one.
yeah, yeah.
Well, look, the railroads example, right? They were off, and then there was private companies, right? So.
They figured it out.
So did we figure out anything that the government should do? Not roads.
They
Not
should
roads.
have
Protect
a
us.
force to protect us.
They should
And
protect
to protect our property.
Our rights and our.
And they should regulate money as far as having it be the same in all the states. Have a standard,
They
standard
were
currency.
established, there was treasury,
Well,
and
what
there
does
was
that
a
mean,
national
though?
currency.
What does that mean if somebody doesn't want to use that currency? Are they free not
Well, they
to?
can barter and stuff like that, but they've got to have something. I guess it comes back to the power of force. Well, and that's why the government, we go back when we talk about government money, the government is only allowed to do coins,
It is.
to do things of real value. It has to be gold or silver.
1933.
As soon as they got away from gold and silver, they went outside their rights. Because they can't, then you get into force. The government is forcing us to recognize this silly piece of paper that's having value.
Yeah, in fact, it was the first law he signed into.
So,
Nice.
again, they can't, they're not supposed to be able to tell us what is or isn't money. Money is gold or silver.
Yeah,
According to
and
the
he was-
Constitution, right.
And she was just explaining that in this country it's now illegal to use gold as
Which is I mean, it's interesting you say that because pull out a piece of money.
there's no gold or silver there.
What makes our money money is that the law
Yeah.
says this is our money and you can't use anything else
It's
for
got
money.
enough silver to make it look silver. With a little copper rim on it.
And it used to be that all the paper money was backed by gold or silver, not so much anymore.
Yeah, it's
Not at
not
all.
Federal Reserve